All right. Once again, I'm Aries with Awkwardly Zen, and tonight we are going to have Christie come on and talk to us about the numerology of 2022. So, Christie, I'm going to pass it over to you now, and if you just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Thank you. I'm so excited. I just love talking about the numbers, and I'm excited when there's a new year and we can talk about the new energy because each year has its own energy based on the numbers in that year. And I have been interested in numerology since the 80s. So, like when you were barely born, Harry. But I was in a metaphysical bookshop that's no longer there in Evergreen. And sometimes how a book will just kind of almost come at you. And I was drawn to that book, pulled it off the shelf, and it was Dan Millman's The Life You Were Born to Live. And it's a book all about numerology, and it's on my resource list that we'll be showing here later. But I turned to the page, I kind of figured out what to do. I turned to the page about me, and it was just so spot on. And it was kind of expensive. It was a hardcover, and but I just had to have that book. And ever since, I've really been interested in the numbers. So welcome everybody. And so the math is really, I would call it arithmetic. It's really basic, and we just keep adding until we get to one numeral, one digit. And then we can talk about the meaning of that number, which is what we do with the years. So I thought I'd start out by talking a little bit about 2021 because it's not over yet, right?
Do you want me to pull up that
We
presentation?
have a few more few more days of it. You can if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. There we go.
All right. The numerology of 2022, and that's my contact info. So this world year that we're in right now is the year of 2021. And what we do is we take each one of those digits into consideration when we're talking about the power of the year. And you think about how many times you say 2021, or how many times you write that or text it, or as you're filling out forms, just over and over throughout a year. And so that energy is with us all the time. So we have the digits, the double 2, and the 0 and the 1. And something that you don't bring forward to numerology is the idea that 0 is nothing. That's what we learned in math. Oh, yeah, 0, 2 plus 0, 0 is nothing. And so it's still 2. That energy of the 0 is still present. So we have the double 2, the 0, and the 1. And when we add all those together, 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. So we've been in a 5 world year, and that addition is written out right there. And so the numerology of the number 5, the characteristics of the 5 are change. It can be travel in 2021, maybe, especially in the beginning, we weren't traveling that much, but think about travel in the broad sense. We can travel by reading, we can travel, we don't have to get on an airplane or even get in a car. We can travel in our minds. 5 is also chaotic and scattered. It's a number of the intellect. 1, 5, and 7 are all numbers of the intellect. And so it's airy and scattered. It's going off in all 5 directions. And a good symbol for 5 is the 5-pointed star, that one you learned to draw when you were a kid in school. And it's all in all different directions, right? And the 5 likes, my life path is 5, so I can resonate a lot with the energy of the 5. And we tend to want to go off in all different directions, and we never go very deep. And what we eventually learn, hopefully, on our life path is if we'll pick one, we will find and go deep, we will find that any of those choices that we would have made along the points of that 5 star would have taken us deeply enough, and it wouldn't have mattered which one we chose. So that's the energy of the 5 year. And it has been chaotic. for the world this year of 2021. We've had that energy of the 2 and 2. So let's talk about those individual numbers that combine to make a 5, because there are all kinds of ways to get to 5, right? So we've got the double 2 energy, and 2 is, if you think about 2 points on a line and how you will connect them with a line. So it's connecting the dots. It's reaching out from this dot to the other dot and making connections. To, if you think of the word together or togetherness, 2 is about relationships and cooperation and wanting things in harmony. So we've got the double energy of 2 there. And if you think about it, we have seen a lot of that. We have seen people working together. We have seen cooperation. And so that's been underneath this chaotic 5 that we've had, the overlay. The other number that we have there is the number 1. And 1 is about new beginnings, planting seeds. It's not about, a finished product. It's just, okay, we're going to start this and we're going to plant a seed. And so that energy has been present this year. And then the 0, as I said, isn't nothing. 0 in numerology is about potential. And it's about, if you think of an egg, for example, it's shaped like an egg. And it's the void, it's possibilities. So all of those energies are present in this particular 5. So when we do our reducing for any kind of number in numerology and we get to the single digit, all those numbers we use to get there are still present in that, the end number, if that makes sense. So that is the world year of 2021. Do we want to stop a minute and see if people have comments or questions about this particular year?
I think that we're good. Let's go on to the next year, and then we're doing their math. If they have questions, we can do arithmetic. Let's say that.
Sure. Okay, so then we are about to move into the world year of 2022, and that will happen in just a few days on January 1st. So the coming year, if we add those digits together, we have 3 2s and a 0. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. So we will be in a world year of 6, which makes sense. We were just in a world year of 5, and so the next year will be the next number, 6. And then we will only go to 9, and as we get to 9, then we would start over with 1. So the characteristics of a world year of 6. 6 is a creative number, along with 3 and 9. Those are the creative numbers. And so 6 is, there's a creation part of 6, because those numbers are all creative numbers. And so there's a family, home, and beauty, but it isn't just, talking about that. It's about the making of a family and a home and of beauty. So it's creation. So I was in a personal year of 6 this year, for example. And so the intention I had for this year was the creation of a nurturing home. And so it's about what can you do to make that home a reality for yourself, for your family, your loved ones? What can you do to bring beauty into your home, beauty into the world? What can you do? And family doesn't necessarily have to be biological. It can be, of course, but it can be the family that we create among our friends and colleagues. My brother is a 6 life path, and wherever he is working, sometimes he has owned a restaurant. Sometimes he's the big boss. He's actually been part of several restaurants, and he literally creates a family within his restaurant. And it's so interesting to watch him, because it's a very, very nurturing way that he has with those people, and they have family meals before service in the restaurant. And so it is kind of just like he's the dad, and they're having their little meal, and then they go out into the world in the restaurant. So those are the characteristics of what is coming for us in the world year of 2022. And so we've got 3 2s in that number, triple 2. So think about to the third power, 2 to the third power. that isn't the math we're going to do, but it's 3 times that energy of that togetherness and the making of relationships and duality. And that is something else I should talk about a little bit, is that the numbers have a positive and negative side. So the positive energy of 2 are those relationships and the creation of relationships. And details can be positive, but somebody who's stuck in the details and can't see the big picture or won't see the big picture, so that can be sometimes a negative trait of a 2 life path. I have a work sister. Oh, I'm going to do that with my voice. Sorry, who's a 2 life path. And oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. We will absolutely wait.
And she could really get stuck in the details. And I'm a 5 life path. And so we were actually pretty good as a team, because she would do the details and I would do the big picture, and it worked out okay. We also have the 0 here, which, as I said before, is the potential number, but a lot about relationships coming in this, even though it's, when we go all the way down to reducing, it's a world year of 6. There's a lot of 2 energy in this particular 6. All right, so we have the world year, and then everybody has a personal year that we don't use anything with the world year to figure this out. What we use to determine the personal year is the month and day of your birth. And then instead of adding it to your birth year, we add it to the current year. And that's your personal year in this world year of 2022. So I gave an example. My birthday is August 11th. And so if we add those 2 numbers together, 8 plus 1 plus 1, we get 10. And then we always keep going until we get to a single digit. So I take the 0 off. 1 plus 0 is still 1. And then I add that to the world year of 2021. Oh, that's this current year that I'm doing, sorry, 2021, which is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. So as I said before, I've been in a personal year of 6. So next year, the 2022, I will be in a personal year of 7. It just goes forward like the world year does. But let me demonstrate the math again. 8, 11, 8 plus 1 again is 10. Take the 0 off, or add 1 plus 0 and get 1. And then add that to the 2022. 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. So I will be in a personal year in 2022 of 7. So the way that you're going to do this, I've given you, like a little worksheet. If you have some paper there, you can do it in your head. You can write down there your birthday month and day and add those digits together, and then add the 2021 or 5 to that. And that has been your personal year for 2021 this year. So let's have you do that. Let's not have you do both of these. Let's do one at a time, and take a minute or 2 to do that. And then we'll stop and answer any questions we might have. Oh, that's a good question. Can I stop to interrupt, or should I wait till the end? Okay. If you get to what is known as a master number, which is any number repeating, like 11, 22, 33, you can go ahead and reduce that number to a single digit, and or you can leave it with the double number because the master numbers have separate meanings. And we can go through that for anybody who has those. Oh, Diana is a master 11. That's awesome. Oh, look at all these 11s. You just keep adding until you get to a single digit. To reduce the numbers, just keep adding them.
So Anne, why don't you tell us what your birthday is and we can use you as an example?
Yeah, my birthday is May 31st. And I added 5 to that and I got 14.
It's May 31st, and so we would add 5. So we've got 5 plus, so we've got 10, and we've got 31, we've got 41, which comes to 5.
Okay, wait a minute. I'm not getting that.
Her birthday is May 31st?
Right? Of 20. So if she was doing her birthday this year, it would be 5 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 2, right?
Well, I just do the 5.
Okay, cool. I can do that too.
5 and 5 is 10. And so it's 41 or 5.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
And then for this year, it would be 6.
Correct.
Okay.
I guess we don't really have to make people do the math for the second one, but hey, it would be interesting.
To be 1 over. Well, it could be the master number, right? Possibly.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So, and what we did there was 5 plus 3 plus 1. So that's May 31st. And then plus the 5 for 2021 or plus the 6 for 2022. So then when we got to the 14, then we added the 1 and the 4, and that became a whole number of 5. So then this year was 5. And when we added it to the 2022, we added that 6, that became 15, 1, 5. And then we did 1 plus 5, and that became 6. So last year you were a 5, this year you're a 6.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Of
You're
course.
welcome. Angela says, so would August 8th for 2022 be a 6? Because she has a numerology app and it says a 4.
August 8th. So 8 plus 8, and we've got 2022. 16. 22 it is. 22 or 4.
Okay. So 8 plus 8 would be 16,
17, 18,
6,
19,
which would be 22. So you're getting either a master number of 22 or a 4.
Right.
So that app is right. So I'm not sure where the 6 came in. I understand the 6. So the 6 is what the number is for 2022. So we were adding the 8th day of August. So 8/8 plus, and that became 16.
Oh, I see. And
Yeah.
2022 is 6. Yes.
Okay. And what if you're a double master number?
Oh.
Taking over the world, Ava. That's what's happening.
Wow. I say to that, wow.
Is anyone else struggling with making sure the numbers are right? Believe me, you guys, this gets confusing everywhere. So don't, August 8th. August 8th would be a 4, either a 22 or a 4. Angela.
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Sure. Sorry, it's just not making sense. So if you take 8 plus 8,
Mm-hmm.
and then do you add the 2 and then plus 6, right?
Yes.
So 8 plus 8 is 16.
Yes.
Plus 6. Of course, now that I'm saying it out loud, it makes sense.
Sometimes that's all we need. That's all we need.
Okay,
Say it out loud.
I went ahead and put it over in the chat too. Believe me, it's this every time we do this. That's why we put it up there, because it
You
can be.
wouldn't know I used to be an accountant. Thank you.
Well, some people have their little tricks about adding, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. My good friend Charlotte, who's on here with us, she likes to cast out the 9s because anything you add 9 to goes back as you reduce. So you don't really have to add the 9s in. So that's a little trick.
Okay. So Jamie, your birthday is what? The 27th of what month? January. Okay. So it would be 1 + 2 + 7, which is going to be 10. And then for this year, we're going to do 6 because that's what 2022 equals out to. So that's going to be 16, which means that you're going to do 1 + 6, which equals 7. I'll go ahead and put that math over in the side. But your number for this year is 7, and your number for last year is 6. Did I do that right, Christy?
You did, correct. Very, very nice work.
Exciting.
Yes. We aren't putting you on the spot at all. You are just jumping forward into it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So
So once we have all the years figured out and people feel comfortable, I'd like to take a little minute and talk about what it means to be in a certain number year.
yeah, I'm going to go ahead and go forward on the slide. And then anybody who's struggling, go ahead and send it to me. And while she's going through those numbers, I will try to get your math right.
Or we can finish answering questions. Are there a lot more questions or?
I don't think so. I got a couple I'm working on right now, but I think we're good.
Okay. All right. So thank you to you for putting together this slide. And it is similar to another slide that we're going to show in a minute. And numbers hold these meanings in terms of all sorts of numbers, not just our personal year or our world year. It can be our life path. It can be our home address, all sorts of things. And generally speaking, the numbers have these certain meanings. But there's a little bit of just a little bit of a tilt about it, I guess, in terms of when it's the year, because it's so over encompassing, for that whole year for you. So those of you who will be in a 1 year this coming year, or maybe you were in a 1 year last year, 1 represents new beginnings. So if you think about that, you think about the number 1 and how a number 1 looks and how it's going straight up into the air, almost like a little shoot of a plant or something. And it's just starting out. And and it's also about people who have 1 as their life path are often competitive. There's also this competing sort of thing. And you think about plants and how they really do have to kind of compete in order to grow and make it. Maybe there's several of them trying to come up in the same space. And so there's a little bit of that jockeying to be number 1. And we talk about that, I'm number 1, and that's a competitive statement. So there's also that energy for the 1 year. A 2 personal year, we talked about how 2 is about relationships and connecting the dots. So it's connection and partnership and relationships and cooperation. That's a very, very good one. That's a great word for the 2, and working together, and especially in terms of a team of 2, because teams can be more people than that, but the sense of that and the cooperation that's required to be on a team, that is represented there. The other thing I want to say is that numbers in any kind of situation can be worked in the positive or the negative, and that happens in your personal year as well. So these are very positive qualities that I see here in this slide. And I just happen to think that a 2, for example, working in the negative could be quite codependent, for example. And so that would be kind of the negative energy of working a personal year of 2. And 1 would be perhaps just having to be number 1 all the time, having to be, in charge, Those kinds of things would be the negative side of that. Okay, so those of you who had a personal year last year, this year, of 3 is about creation. It's a creative number, and it's about communication. It's artistic in some way. It is a lot about communication, creativity, and being social, for sure. Yeah. And 3, and the negative, I always think about a 3-sided figure is a triangle, right? And we have that term in the mental health field and that sort of thing about people who triangulate, when there's 3 kids, there'll be 2 against 1 inevitably, that kind of thing. So that can be how 3 works in the negative. Those of you who had a 4-year or going into a 4-year, 4 is a business number. 2, 4, and 8 are all numbers of business. And we take the 2 points and a line, and we make a square. We have 4 of them. And think about how solid a square is, or a box. And that is a 4. They are definitely people who have to have things, boxed in, boxed up. And building foundation is a great way to say that. And 4s in the negative, they just get rigid. So there's a rigidity, that's great to build a foundation, and that can be a positive thing. But if you hang on to it and can't look outside of your box, that can be working that energy in the negative. All right. So a 5-year, last year or this year, is about change. It's about going in all 5 directions, travel. And 5 is a number of the intellect. 1, 5, and 7 are all in your head sorts of numbers, very thinking. You wouldn't think that 5 was a thinking number, but they are. They're just going off in all directions. Their mind is so busy. And so in the negative, they don't necessarily get much done. They just are all over the place and starting things. So 5 can feel like that, chaotic. All right. And then a 6 personal year, for those of you who had one, as I did, or this coming year, 6 is the creative group of numbers, 3, 6, and 9. And 6 is about the creation of family and home and making things beautiful. My brother, I think of him, that's his life path, and everything is just so in his home, and he has beautiful art. And so that's that 6 energy. And it can be about caretaking, in terms of family and home and providing comfort for others. I would add beauty. Yeah. And then a 7 personal year is the year I'll be going into this coming year. And it's about that. It's the last of the numbers of the intellect, 1, 5, and 7. And this is about looking inward. It's, all sorts of different kinds of spirituality, any kind of spirituality really, but the 7 energy is about going inward with it. It wouldn't be like preaching to the masses or a big church or some kind of organization. It's more about looking within in terms of the 7, and very analytical, looking at things from all different sides, making those analyses and really examining your life. Because think about it, you started way back with 1, and here you are almost at the end of the cycle. So 7 is a time to reflect and think about, okay, where have I been? I'm almost to the end here, and the next 1, 8, I'm going to be reaping what I've sown. We're going to be finishing up this cycle. So it's really a time to analyze whether, you're where you need to be. And then we have 8. You would think that 9 would be the pinnacle of the numerology cycle, but it's not. 8 is actually the pinnacle. we start with 1, and 8 is, you know, as high as you're going to reach, because 9 is really about clearing away and making ready for the next cycle. So 8 is really the time to reap what you've sown. Taking control is a good way to say that. It's about finances, money, material things, and yeah, big vision. That sounds right too. 8, if you think about a racetrack and how the 8 is formed in our system of numbers, and you can go round and round and not, you know, be way at the top and then lose everything. That's a very 8 thing as well. And it's also, if you made an 8 with boxes, with like the 4 symbol, it's 2 boxes on top of each other, and it's a building. And so it's finishing up this building process that you started long ago, and really making the most of it, as much as you can of it, whatever that might be. Now, we think of it as material, but it doesn't necessarily have to be material. It can be whatever you started with at that 1. Maybe it was some kind of personal transformation, and 8 will be the pinnacle of what you started. All right, so 9 then is the closure, the finish of the cycle. It's the last of the creative numbers, 3, 6, and 9. And it's about giving things away. It's about being charitable. Gandhi was a 9 life path. I always think about that when I think about 9 and try to explain what 9 is about. It is making a way for the next cycle that's going to start in the following year. So you have to clear things away. You have to finish things up. And then it's also time for reflecting on, okay, what have these last 8 years, you know, what has this journey been about for me? And even starting, you wouldn't be doing anything to start the new cycle, but thinking about, okay, this is what I've accomplished or we've accomplished. And, you know, what has that looked like for us? And how am I going to go forward then from here? But it's a good time for charity and clearing things away. And I always think on a 9 day, I always try to, you know, do some clearing in my house, you know, that just to represent that energy. So those are the personal years. And why don't we stop for a minute and see if anybody has any questions about their personal year, or maybe a comment about what your personal year has been or will be.
So can you touch on those, the master numbers?
I can.
Thank you.
All right. So, and the master numbers are simply the doubling of the numbers. So 11, 22, 33, 44, 55, 66, 77, 88, 99. But we don't get to all of those in the numbers that represent the years, because those numbers are too high. But in one sense, it's simply a doubling the energy of those numbers. So for example, 11 would be twice the energy of the number 1. It would be, you know, double competitive, double new beginnings, double change, double, you know, being number 1. But 11 is also a portal, and a lot of people take a lot of stock in seeing the time, for example, 1111. Because it is, if you look at the symbol for 11, it looks like a gate, and the number 11 is a portal. It is a gateway. And so those people have that same sort of ability to make gateways and portals and, you know, manifest however you want to say that. Cool. And then the same thing is true for 22. It would be double the energy. Those people are very, very much into relationships and being cooperative and wanting connections with people, yeah, or some sort of connection. I suppose connection could also be, for example, with animals or the natural world or music. Connection can take other forms besides human connection.
Okay.
Yeah,
So who we got?
33 would be the same, the creation and being very social.
All right. Thank you on that. And I think, Julie,
Yeah.
did you have a question? I did mute you, so unmute yourself again if you did.
Okay, hi. Yeah,
Hi.
I missed the first part. I had trouble signing in, but I don't know what number I am or how you calculate that.
Okay, Julie, if you want to send me in the chat your birthday, I will tell you what number you're in.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you very
absolutely.
much.
Okay, does anyone else have a question before we go? I cannot see all of you, so anybody? This is the scariest thing I've ever said in one of these Zooms, but go ahead and unmute yourself and tell me if you have a question.
I have a question.
Okay.
This is Angela, and
Hi,
my
Angela.
question is, hi,
Hi.
if you're in a personal year of a 4, would that be a good year to possibly start a business since it's taking care of business and laying down roots and foundation?
It could very well be, yes, because you're building a foundation, and that would be a good year to do that. 4 energy. 4 is also about security, and I don't think I said that. So, I don't. It depends maybe how risky the business venture is.
Well,
but it
I'm
would.
because it's good since I'm starting a business in January and going into a 4-year. So
Yeah. So I think it could very well be, because that energy will be with you, and it will be solid, and it will be foundational, which is what a business needs in the beginning.
I just have to say, thank you for the info. And also, it so fits. I was really in a 3 this year. And so it's just amazing to see this formula works.
Isn't it awesome? I know.
So thank you so much.
Sure.
I have a question. I was wondering if there's anything that can shift your number. Like, is there any outside influences, or I don't know, the day you were born on, or something that could maybe, because for some reason numerology has always been one of my bigger challenges. Like it never sits right with the number, and I'm just wondering if there's a reason for that.
Okay, well, there are lots of numbers that are involved. Do you mean your life path specifically, or
even just this like 3 was 2021, which definitely, it doesn't sit like it does. That's definitely not how my year was. Not that doesn't mean it's not for anybody else. I know these are more general numbers. I'm just wondering, even like looking back at the past, I feel like my life has been 5 for the past few years. So maybe it's COVID. I don't know, but I'm just wondering if it's more of something that could be influenced on it.
Yeah, well, I think the most important number in numerology is your life path. And so that's one that you carry with you your whole life, and it's based on your birth date, including all the numbers, adding them all up and reducing it to a single digit. Do you know your life path number?
I think it's if I remember correctly, I believe it's an 8 or a 4. It's one of the 2.
Okay. And you feel like that doesn't resonate with you?
Definitely not an 8, but I think I mean, I don't know. I mean, it does in some way. I'm just wondering, I guess I remember just doing this for a while back, and I was just like, oh, the numbers just didn't seem to click with me. So I just didn't know if there was just something that could.
Oh, yeah. Well, and part of it too is when we reduce the numbers to get to our life path, there are 2 numbers usually involved in getting to that final number. For example, I'm a 325. So from 32, then I add the 3 plus 2 to get to 5. And so I'm a very different 5 than somebody who has 50 or 41, for example. And so the numbers 3 and 2 are also at play. And I think Dan Millman does a really good job of explaining that in his book, The Life You Were Born to Live. And he goes through all the different types of 1s, 2s, 3s, etc. And he also talks about working the numbers in the positive and the negative. And that makes a difference too.
Okay, thank
So
you.
maybe that
That's
will
all.
help.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it's like, you know how astrology, if you're born, you know, it can
Yeah.
be, it can
Yeah.
change dramatically based
Well,
on certain
and
things.
that's a really good point, because I'm a Leo in astrology, which never seemed to fit for me until somebody explained about the Pisces rising and the Pisces moon. And so I have a lot of Pisces going on. So, you know, I think a lot of this is not as simple as we think, you know, and there's, you know, shadows to it and so forth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, one more thing I want to say just about that is I think sometimes we can be very literal when we see things like this, and this is an all-encompassing viewpoint of that. So also, I think be careful of, if you look at 4 and you see taking care of business, and you set your brain that it only is about business, and you didn't start a business or you weren't involved with the business, it can be really easy to say, well, this didn't work. But sometimes when you're not in business, or you're having the opposite, it's like you were talking about, Christie, with the duality of it, right? There's both sides to it. Could be that you're having the opposite of that as well, or that it is more about roots and building a structure in some other part of your life. Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So Ava has a question, but let's talk about it after we do the life path part. So you ready for that next slide?
I am.
All right. Good questions, you guys. Okay, more arithmetic.
All right. So we just figured out how to find out our personal year. And remember, we added the current year to the month and day of our birth to find the life path, which is a totally different number. And it's what you were put here to do. You know, the life path kind of is self-explanatory. There is what you're going to do. So you're not born, you know, you take your whole life to do this. It's the month and day of your birth and the year of your birth. And you add those all together. And Aries has given us an example of herself. And she took February 20th, 2 + 2 + 0. And then the year 1979, 1 + 9 + 7 + 9. And she got 30. And so she is a 303 life path. And when we're talking about life paths, the final 2 numbers, and I'm glad she wrote those out there, are important, because that's a certain type of 3. She could be a 1, 2, 3. She could be a 2, 1, 3, but she's a 303. And so that is important to know for your life path. So we're going to have you each do this example. And so I'd like you to have the last 2 numbers and the final numbers, so we know what kind of 3 or 5 or whatever you are.
I'm ready, you guys. Give me it in the chat. Who's not understanding? I'm ready. I'm ready. I got my pen, my paper.
They've got this.
I know, they seem to. All right.
Yes, Monica, you would be a 1. A 101.
You start throwing numbers out like that, and I think of Friends. Some of you know that episode off the top of your head. Okay.
I thought the exact same thing.
Okay. Was that Val who just said that?
Yes.
Of course. Okay. All right. So 1, 1, 1, 3. This is harder than the other math because it's not a given 5 or a given 6.
That's so cool. We have a lot of 11s here.
So question, would November 13th, 1987 be a 4 or a 22?
I'd get 32. You said 11/13/1987?
Right, so would you add the 1 and 1 to be a 2?
Yes,
And then the 13 is a 4,
yes.
and then 1987 is 25?
You've got 6 so far,
Oh, that's 35, right?
25 and
I got
6.
3
Oh,
plus 2 equals
31, 31.
Uh-oh.
What?
Hold on. I'm doing it on my phone because that math was too much for me.
2 is 6.
Yeah, I have it right. It's
16, 24.
Oh, yeah, 31.
31. So it's a 314. Yes. I don't know. I had one too many numbers.
so what is the life path?
4.
4.
Mhm.
Okay. Just curious, because on a numerology app, it comes up with 22, and I wasn't sure how that if that meant something coming up.
Well,
to
let's see. Let's see if there's a way to get to 22. I don't know how the app does it, but 2, 6, 16,
I couldn't see one.
24, 31. No, I do not get 22.
Okay, thank you.
See, that's why, no, I won't say that. Never mind.
It's definitely a challenge, and there's probably different viewpoints on different things. So
Mhm.
I would read
Yeah.
both and see what resonates.
Absolutely. At any rate, it's definitely 4. And so everything that is known about the 4 life path would be applicable.
Okay. So we got a couple questions.
Okay.
Amy wanted to know, so with the multiple numbers, like I'm a 4 life path, how do I figure out the other influencing numbers? So the question would be, are you a 0, 4, 4?
Yeah.
So 0 plus 4, or a 2 plus 2, or a 1 plus 3?
So look at Aries' example. That line before she found the life path, 2 plus 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 9, she got to 30. So it's the number before you reduce to the single digit that tells you what kind of 3 you are. She's a 303. So go back in your calculations to where you just had a 2-digit number right before you got to the single digit. And that's the kind of number you are. Does that make sense? 31. Oh, I don't know who was asking the question now.
That was Amy.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. I absolutely am missing stuff in the chat. So if you're needing me to answer it for you, put my name on it. Steve, what's up, buddy?
I wanted to ask you, why would the month you're born in determine your life path or what you're interested in?
Well, it's not just the month you were born in, it's the month, the day, and the year, and it's the energy of those numbers.
Okay.
Is it like the energy of the earth or astrology we're talking about?
It's, I don't know. I think of it as the energy of the numbers, and the numbers are with us, surrounding us. And think about how many times you write your birth date and how significant of a day it is in your whole life. Everybody is, what's your date of birth? And so those numbers follow you, if you will, and that energy is with you. And that is the life path you were born to live. And, there are many paths in a 5 life path, for example, many different directions. There are many paths for a 1 and 9, so forth. But I have found that the numbers, it never lies. It's just been right on the money for me.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, and then going back through so many things over here. Roxanne, I think your name was. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I do have a question. So my life path number is a 6.
Okay.
It's so funny. I always relate them to the tarot because I'm the devil and the lover.
Oh.
So, yeah, and I'm my life path number. Let me tell you. So I'm curious because I'm going into the year of my life path number. So,
Oh, yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
I'm a 156.
Aha.
15 to the 6. So
Yes.
what? And then my personal year is going to be a 3. So like, what does that mean when you're going into the year of your life path number?
If you're going into the year of your life path number, it simply means that the energy is double. So for example, when I was in a personal year of 5, I'm a 5 life path. It was a very chaotic year actually. And, so that made sense to me. But I'm familiar with that energy because that's the energy that's been present with me my whole life. And so it is a comfortable energy.
Yeah.
And so there's that. But to just know that, 6 is all about family. So I would think in that double 6 energy, that family and home, family doesn't have to be your personal family, but the family you've created, however you think about that, and definitely your home environment. Those will be doubly important and probably will be taking a lot of your energy that year, I would think. And that is, of course, a creative number. And so if it isn't present or you're not happy in your home or, so forth, then that can be a year that you make some changes and create what it is that you want and use that creative energy.
And that also is relationships is a big part of that too, right?
Yeah, well, yes, in terms of family, those people who are most close to you, yes. And then also beauty comes into play. And I always think about it as making your home beautiful, but it really can be beauty in any sense. It could be your own beauty.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You bet.
And Mary, what was your question?
Hello.
Hi, Mary, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
What is a 7?
We're going to go over those in just a second.
Oh, okay. You're gonna go over all the numbers. Okay, cool.
Yep, we're
Thanks.
just trying to make sure everyone's set up for that. Okay.
Could we ask if everybody has their life path and is comfortable with that before
We're working on it. I just got a bunch of messages over in the chat, but let's go over to the next slide and you can start going over those and I will catch up.
Okay. All right. Okay. So here are some of the numbers and their meanings in terms of the life paths. For those of you who are a 1 life path, 1s are pioneers. Think about the energy of 1 and how you're starting something new or growing something. They are driven leaders. And I would say they are competitive and full of potential because they're always starting something. And that's what potential is about. If your life path is a 2, remember the details and connecting the dots. 2s are very detail oriented. They're cooperative. They like cooperation. They make great mediators. They're very relationship oriented. And they want to make everyone not necessarily happy, but they like it best when people are getting along. Life path of 3, remember that's the creative number, the communication, social, creativity. 3s are often artists of some kind or public speakers, writers, very social people. A 4 life path, remember the square, they're solid. They like people who and things who are solid. They are builders. They want to be doing something. My daughter's a 4, very unlike me. I'm all over the place, but she has, a place for everything, and everything is just so, and she's always working on building something. They're process oriented and very stable, and security is important to 4s. 5s, we've talked about a little bit. Think of that 5-pointed star. They're adventurous. They're outgoing everywhere. They want their freedom.
Sorry.
That's okay. And that's a number of the intellect, and they're thinkers, and they think quickly. They don't want to necessarily be bothered with details. They just want to get to the answer and be done and go on. A 6 life path, that's a creative number again. Remember, we talked about the family orientation and how important that is to a 6, and the home environment has to be just so for a 6. They can be perfectionistic in almost the negative. They like things to be beautiful in a certain way, that kind of thing. A life path of 7, these are spiritual people. They're also analytical. Remember, 7's a number of the mind, and the highest number of the mind. And so they're in their mind a lot, and they're quiet and sometimes reserved and need a lot of time for thinking. And spiritual, not necessarily religious, but spiritual. And the 8 life path is a number of business, finance. They're ambitious. They're financially driven, or I would say also materialistically driven. They make good executives and or entrepreneurs. Depending on what an executive of what, they would need to have some say in it, some power in it, and some financial reward. And then the final life path, the 9s, they are compassionate old souls, humanitarians. As I said, Gandhi was a 9 life path, very community oriented. And then I add 0 in here because if you have a 0 present before you get to your life path, for example, if you were a 202, that 0 has effect on the 2. And remember, 0 is about the void, about creativity, potential. And so I just want to remind people that the 0 is, and its energy are present in that number. So take a minute and look at the description of your life path and see if it resonates.
So Andrea had a question about, again, if she was a 2-9, and so that adds up to 11. So the master number is 11, but 1 plus 1 could add up to 2. So should she consider herself as an 11 or as a 2?
That is a great question. All of those numbers are present. We've got the 2, 9. So 2 and 9 are definitely influencing the 11. And remember, 11 is the master number and a gateway and the portal. And so that is definitely part of you. The other one you have there is a double 1. Not just the 11, you've got the double 1 as well, which is all we talked about with the competitiveness and being number 1 and being successful. And then we have the 2. All of those numbers are present in your life path. There isn't a right answer, for example, it's all there. And there are people who are adamant that you don't reduce a master number to 2 because it's different than the other 2s. But I believe that all of the energies of those numbers are present in your life path. Do you have one or the other that resonates more with you?
Andrea, did you have one that resonates more?
I'm reading over them. I 2 and 9 are pretty close with the
Mhm.
relationship oriented, not so detail oriented, humanitarian and community oriented. So
I think that's interesting because a 1 wouldn't necessarily be interested in the details. So that's the energy of that 11 and the double 1. So I would, those of you who are having questions about the master numbers, I would highly recommend Dan Millman's book or even an excerpt of it if it's available regarding the master numbers, because he talks about that a lot in his book, The Life You Were Born to Live.
So how does your life path tie in with your personal year?
They aren't necessarily related. It's simply that, for example, I'm a life path of 5. And so I go through the years 1 through 9 as a 5. And so in a 1 year with the new beginnings, and I've got the 157 going with me, that works pretty well for me. I happen to be a 325. And so in a year of 2 and 3, I have those energies that help me. The years I have the toughest time with are the numbers that I will call them clash, but the numbers right next to mine. I am a 5 life path. And so in a 4 year as well as a 6 year, that energy is a little bit of a clash. And then when I am in a 5 year, that energy feels very familiar because that is my life. That's my life path. And so, although that year can often be quite chaotic, that, sometimes I can be a person who really does well in that because I'm used to that energy. And then, in the 7, the 1, 5, and 7 in a 7 year, I am very much in my head, in my mind and thinking all the time. So 7 year goes okay, and 5 and 8 go pretty well together. The 9, maybe not as much, but so each number you could go through like that and think about, oh, how am I going to approach this energy of this year?
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Ava had a question.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Can you please share with us what the energy is of a number 22 master number?
Okay, so we have the double 2 numbers. And so we have a double 2 energy with that detail, lots of detail, and being cooperative and being mediators and relationship oriented. And then it also, let's see, how can I say that? I don't know why I'm losing my words all of a sudden. Reduces to the 4 energy then. And 4 is about, taking the lines of the 2 and making the box. Oh no. Oh my gosh. That's my house phone. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe you could answer another question. I'm gonna hang it up.
Sure. No worries whatsoever. All right. Well, while she's taking care of that, let me just say, I just put Christie's contact email over in the chat. It's Chris Mudder, ChrisMudder @gmail.com. Y'all, if you started getting just a glimpse of this and you're like, I need to know more, get a reading done with Christie, because holy cow, because she will go into all of the things that we did tonight and dig into those more, but she'll also go into your personal numbers and how they affect you in different ways. So like as we did the numbers for me, we had a ton of gateways for spirituality, which makes sense that I started a spiritual group. So there was all these different ways that numbers interacted and played in my life. And there's no way I could have gone over all of them without her help. So if you love this and you really want to dig in more, I highly encourage you to reach out to with Christie, because it was a phenomenal experience to do that with her.
Oh, well, thank you. I love it so much. And I will offer a little special for anybody who is attending tonight who wants to do that. My email is there. Just get in touch with me. But back to the double twos. And you know who it was on the phone? Because I was talking about him so much.
Oh,
my brother.
Law of attraction. I tell you what.
I said I have to call you back. The double two, it gets to 4, right? To the box, the 4-sided figure, and twos, whereas 1 is like the gateway and the portal and going through. The double two is about building something. And it doesn't have to be in the literal sense. It could be, and so, whereas the ones are the people going through the gateway and, you know, that powerful energy, the portal. The twos are, solid comes to my mind. 4 is a solid number, and but they're the ones who are the builders. And that could actually be literally buildings, or it could be that they built a business, you know, built something for the world, humanity. So it's definitely a builder energy.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so I can see everybody. Does anyone else have any questions as we are wrapping up here? Okay. All right. Anyone want some clarity on anything? Now's your chance. Who's going to be brave? Yeah, Diana.
What's the purpose of a Master 11?
The purpose of a master, do you mean somebody who has a life path of 11?
Yes, yeah.
Well, I think that can be different for each person depending on, you know, the rest of the numbers, but they are people who can be visionary, who, you know, can look at something and say, I'm going right through this, you know, let me go, because I am headed on this path and you aren't going to stop me. Oh, I just got prickles with that. So I think that was exactly right.
Another question is that being 11, I think I'm surrounded by the number 11 everywhere I go.
Mm-hmm. That does happen. That happens with me with 5.
Okay.
Yep. I have drawn little stars and 5-petaled flowers since I was a little child. Yep. Definitely 5 girl. It's interesting, isn't it?
A good example of this, for those of you who know her, Kendara, who is one of our practitioners, when I first had my first reading with Christie, she started describing 5 and I was like, I know the ultimate 5. And so Kendara is absolutely a 5. And when she took this class the first time, not only was she a 5, but everything in her life was a 5. Like all of her addresses had 5s. Like 5 was just this number that constantly was in her life. And if any of you know Kendara, that fits perfectly. So it's 5 energy is so lovely and light and airy and can be silly and fun, which I like. Julie, you have a question? Julie, I'm gonna have you unmute. There we go.
Here. Yeah, I didn't see the chart then for the meaning of each number for the life path.
Okay, can you see? Okay, we were sharing that for quite a while. I'm going to go ahead and share that again for a minute, but also in the chat, there's a link to all of these slides that we were showing during this whole event. But let me pull that up for just a minute, just in case anyone else needs to see it too. Uh-oh. That didn't do it. Hold on. Okay. Can you guys see it?
No.
Okay. Don't know why that's acting up. Hold on one second.
It says the host disabled participant screen sharing. I just clicked on it to see, but
okay, hold on one second. Give me just a second. Get it pulled back up again. All right.
Anybody else have a question?
I have a
Maybe-
question. This is Monica.
Hi, Monica.
Hi. So I'm a 101.
Uh-huh.
And earlier you were talking about, I think you said you were a 9 and you worked well with other energies because I don't know, were they sister energies or like a 5 or something?
Well, the numbers, there are sets of 3s of the numbers. 1, 5, and 7 are numbers of the intellect. Maybe that's what you heard me say.
Okay,
And so,
that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
yeah, 1 is a number of the intellect, meaning that these people are thinkers. They're in their heads a lot. And that is very true of 1s. They're always
Yes.
thinking. Yes, yes, yes.
So 1, 5, and
7 go
1, 5, and
together.
7. Okay.
They're numbers
That's what
of
I
the
wanted to know.
intellect. And
Thank
then,
you.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you're welcome. 2, 4, and 8 are the building numbers, and 3, 6, and 9 are the creative numbers.
And you guys can see my screen. Yes? Now?
Yes.
The numbers in their meetings? Okay, perfect. Julie, you can see it too? Okay, I'm going to trust that Julie can see it. All right, Alicia.
Hi. I was reading about the life path of 11, and it was saying that sometimes it can, that typically with that number, I guess you're designed to have a kind of like a specific role to play with your pursuit of your life purpose, and that sometimes it can take longer to develop it because you have to. It seems like a self-realization or like a self-healing journey ahead of time. Have you okay, I'm getting excited. I see your head nodding. So I was wondering if you could speak a little bit to that or what you have noticed in regards to that. And thank you. This has been a very informative presentation. I've really
Oh,
enjoyed
well, good. I'm so glad. I think that's true of all the master numbers, actually. It is almost like almost like a gifted person has certain gifts, but they have to kind of grow into them because it's like almost a burden until they figure out how to use their gift. And I think that's true with people with the master numbers, that they sometimes, yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. They almost have to grow into that. And well, and some of it too is recognizing their gifts, which is what you have to do first before you use them. It is to recognize. And I think for gifted kids, for example, it can seem burdensome and they want to be more like their peers and not different. And, sometimes empaths and people with spiritual gifts can feel that way too. I think they just sometimes want to fit in and not seem so different.
All right. Did we have any other questions as we wrap up here? Okay, hold on. I'm looking over. Why? Okay, how about this? So John just said that his wife and I are both 1s. So when you find somebody in a relationship with the same number, is that a good thing? Is that a challenging thing? Is it all of the above?
I think that 1s especially could be quite challenging because of their competitive natures, but they are also in their heads a lot. And I think, I think it would be harder for a 1 and 2 to be together than a 1 and a 1, actually, because the 1 and the 2 would clash like that. But I could see how that might be difficult. But I also feel like, once you come into your own with something like that, they know you pretty well because of that, it's the same energy.
All right. Diana, did you have a question?
Yeah. My question is, how do you go about figuring out what your gifts are?
Do you mean like your like?
Well, I'm an empath.
Gifts?
I'm an empath, but it's like finding out that gift and how to utilize that gift.
Okay, so how would you answer that with numerology? And then I'll answer that with awkwardly Zen.
Well, I think it's helpful to know your life path and to understand what your life path means and, how to work it in the positive, because you can definitely work it in the negative.
That's right.
Yeah. So
that's what I'm trying to figure out,
Yeah.
Because it's either it's a blessing or it's a curse, and you got to figure out
Exactly.
which the balance is.
That's true.
And I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well, there's some awesome events that we have on Awkwardly Zen that you can definitely check out to try to see if you want to practice some of those. We have channeling practice, which is a lot about psychic development. We also have psychic development, which is definitely about psychic development. And there's lots of opportunities there to have conversations. And then there's some people starting some circles on awkwardlyzen.com. So make sure you check that out. And then we also have the mentorship membership, which is a new program with Awkwardly Zen. It's our paid membership where we have 10 different mentors and teachers working with people specifically to do that. And we're about to start in January a 6-week discover your gifts, your spiritual gifts series. So that's going to be on the mentorship membership. So check that out and see if that's something you might want to do. We're putting that together right now. Steve and then Joseph.
I want to ask a question. In my family of 5, 3 of us were born at different months, but on the 28th of their month. Is there anything significant that I can read into it, or does it have no meaning at all?
It has a lot of meaning. We talked about our life path and we talked about our month and day of our birth. But another one of the numbers that follow us all through our life is the date of our birth. And a 2-8 would be 1, it would be 10 and then reduced to 1. And so that energy, you guys all share that, the 1 energy of your birthday.
Well, that's cool.
It is cool.
And I wonder if that's why so many families have things like that, where everyone's born on the same day or that kind of thing. That's very cool. Okay, before we go to you, Joseph, there was a question, sorry, I didn't see earlier. Do the numbers correlate to the Enneagram at all?
They don't. And I was so disappointed to learn that. When I heard about that, I was like, oh, I just know this is going to match up. And it didn't.
And then it didn't. Joseph, what you got?
So someone was telling me once that looking at my south node, like I used to do things by myself. I never let anyone help. So I incurred I brought karmic debt on myself where now in this life I have to have people help me in order to succeed. So my twin sister and I guess we're both 3. And someone saying that she came into the world with me because she's helping me balance that debt. So I'm kind of wondering, like, even though we're both 3, some things we're absolutely the same in, and other things were like night and day. But I'm wondering, in your opinion, would you say that if both of us are 3, maybe how would that work if we were to figure out some business or something together?
Well, the 3 is definitely a creative energy and social and communication. So all of those things would need to go in with it. I'm curious, are you twins or are you siblings?
We're twins, but we're just 5 minutes apart.
Okay, so you're born on the same day.
Yeah.
Okay, so the energy is the same. The other difference is one of you is male and one of you is female. So there's that, and that doesn't have anything to do with numerology. You were born on the same day, so all of the numbers are the same. The other thing that would be in play are your names. And you can figure out the numerology of names by assigning a number to each letter of the alphabet. For example, A is 1, B is 2, and so forth. And you only go through 9 and then you start again. And you can figure out the numerology of your names. One is to add all the consonants. The other is to add all the vowels. The consonants is your personality. The vowels are the soul. And then all of the letters at once is the power of your whole name.
Wow. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Julie, if you want to go ahead and message me on Meetup, there's a way that you can find me. I'm one of the hosts of this event. You can message me or the other host of the event, and we will send you this link if for some reason you can't grab it. I'm sorry that it's frustrating on a phone. I'm sure it is. That's one of the things that I quit using phones a while ago for this because it's really difficult to do. So I'm sorry it's been frustrating. All right, guys. Any last questions before we wrap up here? Okay. Oh, let's see. All right, awesome. Okay, y'all. So this has been so amazing, Christie. Thank you so much for your
Oh,
time and
thank
your
you.
knowledge. It absolutely was wonderful. And we'd love to have you back anytime.
Oh, good.
Again, you guys, you can find Christie at Chris Mudder, Mudder @gmail.com, and work with her, send her a message. It's so amazing. And she can do stuff for all sorts of things and do numerology for stuff you can't even think of. Anywho, thank you so much, and have a fabulous night. And this was a lovely event, and we really appreciate you, Christie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.